from PRX.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and friends beyond the binary. It's time for the podcast, or if I could say it 3 times in 3 different ways and still not make it make sense, that means I'm doing my job. But it's time for the podcast. I only named it once, not thrice, because that wouldn't be nice, I don't think. But that's also a joke about what this episode's about. But my jokes are only funny once out every thrice. What's the thrice 30? Thrice 10 times. What am I talking? Yep, it's time for Sleep With Me, a podcast that puts you to sleep. Hey, before we get to the rest of the podcast here, I just wanted to say that, this podcast and a good night's sleep is really built on a foundation of compassion and empathy. And, you listen to the show, or maybe you structure a bedtime routine or a bedtime routine around the idea of self-compassion and self-empathy. But once you have that down, it's really about compassion and empathy for other people. That's why I make the show. That's why I link to resources if you're struggling right now, to organizations that can help you immediately, that you could connect with right in this moment, right in the show notes of your podcast app. And if you want to change, if you want to look at your privilege, if you want to examine your actions, if you want to be a part of the solution, or you've been impacted by other people's actions, if you want to show empathy and compassion for the Black members of our community, and to stand up and say that Black lives matter, but then to set out on a path to do more than say that, to take action. There's going to be links to that in the show notes as well, because it's important, because you're important, because kindness, empathy, compassion, dignity, and respect are important. And that's really where this show comes from. And I'm glad that people keep reminding me of that. Is that's really what's important, is you. And, as soon as you get that message, then you can spread it to other people as well. And you could start to grow a safe place, just like you grow a garden, I guess. I'm not good at that. I'm just good. I'm good at this. So that's it. And here's a couple of ways I'm able to bring this podcast twice a week. Hey, everybody, Scoots here. I got a big announcements with our Patreon. So if you have been on the fence about it, let me know. I mean, I guess if you're on the fence about it, I always wonder, well, the main thing is, do you get a lot of value out of Sleep With Me, and how often do you listen? Because I don't know otherwise if this stuff's going to push you over the edge to become a patron, but I kind of hope it does. One, we're expanding to more and more currencies slowly over the next few months. So you can now pledge in some of your local currencies, and hopefully Patreon will be adding more and more as the months go on. So that should make it easier. And you can now pledge annually, and you get a month free, which is an amazing deal. You get 11 months or 12 months for the price of 11, and you get 12 months of good night's sleep, hopefully. So it'll save you a little bit of money. Those of you that are long-term patrons are thinking about it. Everybody loves a deal. And then we have exciting, $10 and $20 patrons are really enjoying our current exclusive series for them. They're all intro episodes, all-night episodes, and so we're going to keep expanding on that. This actual annual membership is going to give us a lot more leeway to do exciting things at those levels. So that's a couple other things, and I think that's it. I mean, trying to think if there's anything else it's just if you get a lot of value out of the show, you want to support it back, you like knowing the podcast is here for you when you need it, and you say, hey, I want to be one of those people that's there for the podcast when they need it, because I pay for everything else, right? I say, wait a second, I listen to podcasts more than I watch all these streaming services, more than I listen to music that I pay for. Why is the podcast free? Oh, just because it's not owned by a giant corporation. Okay. So think about it. Are you a rebel with a cause? And do you want to support the person that puts you to sleep? Or you say, well, you know what? I'm more comfortable giving my money to a faceless corporation whose product I use less than Sleep With Me. I mean, that's a little bit smarmy. I don't like to be smarmy, but that's what I hear from the patrons. So if you get value out of the show, think about giving value back, becoming a patron. sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron, and you'll get something back, as well as feeling good about it. Thanks. All right, everybody, it's time for the Sleepy Supporter Zone that really works. This is really what lets me bring this show twice a week. Are the listeners that support the sponsors and amplify their support by letting the sponsors know. And there's some sponsors that, they're just, we really want them with the podcast for long term. I want to thank Krista and Cheryl C., who both supported Grove, got those Grove orders in. Thank you, Krista. Thank you, Cheryl C. And then I want to thank Christine, who got a hoodie from Sweaty Betty. I didn't even know they had hoodies, so I'm going to have to look at one because I love cozy hoodies. And then Nick, who supported Queensland Health and let them know that their sponsorship was heard and listened to. Thank you, everyone, for supporting the show. I couldn't do it without you. If you support a sponsor, tag them, tag me in a social media post. I can try to thank you on Sleepy Supporter Zone like Krista, Cheryl C., Christine, and Nick. Thank you. The second part of the Sleepy Supporter Zone is you getting the support you need. If you're having a tough time right now, there's links to resources here in the U.S. and internationally in our show notes that you can use and get connected with other resources. And then if you're looking to change, to be a part of the solution, to support the Black members of our community because Black lives matter, or you've been impacted, there's going to be resources to organizations that can help in the show notes. And the third part of Sleepy Supporter Zone is something I support, and I support justice for Breonna Taylor. I support letting our Congress, our representatives here in the U.S. know about it, that this just isn't okay, and that change is needed. I support people, their free expression of their voices. So I'm going to have links that Anti-Racism Daily put out to letting your Congress people know, and then also link to the Louisville Community Bail Fund and to the Louisville Healing Fund. So you can support the members of our community because Black lives are important, okay? Because empathy and compassion really do become the foundation for a good night's sleep. And that is the end of the Sleepy Supporter Zone, which is now over. Oh, Mystery Bard, a lot of people help out on the show, and you commission songs. Great holiday gift, by the way, right, Mystery Bard? Commissioning a song for you, for a loved one.
Chris Posty Poster song sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Carl W. the legend. Also edits episode. Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer, and Ashley. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the mystery bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at jonathanmann.net. I'll write a song for you. It's almost Christmas, y'all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. We're raising money for the Water Wheel Foundation, and Scooter might get a perm.
Thanks, Mystery Bard. You could go to song.jonathanmann.net. That's two N's, jonathanmann.net, to commission a song for this holiday. Don't wait for a loved one in your life. And that is the end of the Sleepy Supporter Zone. And what do you say we slow it down and get on with the show? Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, things you're thinking about on your mind, feelings, any emotions coming up for you, so things you're feeling, physical sensations. So, anything on your mind, past, present, or future, anything emotionally coming up or physically, whatever's keeping you awake. It could be something else, something you can't quite put your finger on, or someone lying next to you, be it human or in pet form, that's either generating snores, heat, gas, movement. And this is probably something you can only say within the confines of a sleep podcast. But if you're listening to the show, you probably relate to it. And I'll just say it for you because you can't say it in public. You say, to that snoring, sweet, sweet one right next to you. You know, your comfort is really making me uncomfortable. Oh, you're resting so sweetly. Is really not helping me get any sleep. And it could be, but not, that's what I'm really here for. I guess I'm making a joke about it kind of, but really that's why I'm here. I'm here to take your mind off whatever's keeping you awake. So if it's that, you say, man, this is frustrating. How can this person fall asleep instantly and snore like a dump truck while the dump truck's going by right after, you know how it is. But it could also be changes in time, temperature, routine, whatever it is that is keeping you awake. I'm here to take your mind off stuff, to distract you. So what I'm going to do, or what I propose what I propose and intend to do, is create a safe place where you could set all that aside. I'm going to smooth it. I'm going to pat it. I'm going to rub it down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. So I'm going to go off topic. I'm not going to make a whole lot of sense and not get to the point. And I'm going to do all those things so you don't have to pay attention to me and you can fall asleep. Now, if you're a regular listener, thanks again for coming back. I'm so glad I can help you and be here to try to create this safe place for you and really, make it. I hope I'm doing my best to give you a nice, can I pat it, smooth it, pat it, rub it down? You want me to air anything out, move anything around? Do you have any pets I could pet for you? Or you want me to just look at the fish and talk comforting to your fish, your plants, or to you? How about that? You see, pets, fish, that fish got fed 4 hours ago. See, no, don't worry, fish. I'll talk comforting to, how about I talk comforting to everyone or just to you? Also, there's no wrong answer. You could say, yeah, forget the fish and the pets and this snoring lumberer next to me. Please just scoot. Can you be here? And I say, yeah, don't worry, I'm here for you. I just said that other stuff because of there's cultural norms I'm supposed to follow. So, but you don't have, that's the best part of this show. You don't have to follow any cultural norms. And so if you're new, this really can throw you off because this podcast is by definition not normal. As Doc Brown once never said, norms, where we're going, we don't need any norms, except for you, Norman McFly, the youngest. This is in Back to the Future, the one that I never wrote, but it's, yeah, he says, norms, then he said, just you, Norm, hardy har har. Or maybe he said it in a way like he said, Norm, you just stay here. But I was meaning social norms. But also I just needed your sister. She's the protagonist of this movie. You're the one, we get a view of in the normal world, Norm. You're supposed to be, for once, Norm, you're a normie. Your role in this story is to stay here. We showed the ordinary world just like every Back to the Future is supposed to open. And then we'll return and see the results of, like your sister's journey into, where we need no norms. Oh, you're doing a sleep pod. Sorry about that. Thanks, Doc. I'll take it from here. So if you're new, a couple of things to know. This show could throw you way off, and that's totally normal. So if you're listening at this point and you're wondering what's going on or when I'm going to get to the point or really this is not making any sense, you're right. Or if you're doubtful or skeptical, I would be skeptical too, tuning into a sleep podcast with a creaky dulcet tones and pointless meanders. So those are all valid concerns. Just like Norm's valid concern would be, whoa. How come I would like to time travel? And Doc Brown says, trust me, it never goes as it's supposed to, Norm. So also this is just this car doesn't really, you'd have to, there's not really, it wasn't designed for 3 people. So, Doc, why don't you stay here? And then my sister and I will go. And this could be, maybe instead of the magic, this could be your version. We could make these into children's books. I'm sorry, Norm. I think we're in the middle of a sleep podcast, not a fan fiction fan fiction within a fan fiction podcast. Oh, you're right. Let me give it back to Scooter then. Thanks, Norm. Thanks, Doc. I'm back. So, if you're skeptical or doubtful, you should be. I mean, that's perfectly normal. A few things that usually help settle down the skepticism, but not always. One is to know you're not alone. Millions of people have listened to this show, or probably a lot more than that didn't like it, and then they just moved on. But of the regular listeners, they've said, hey, it takes 2 or 3 tries to get used to this podcast. And then you kind of start to become a regular listener. At first you say, I'm trying to figure out what's going on and it's not making any sense. So that's the first thing. The second thing is this is a podcast you don't really need to listen to. So you just kind of barely pay any attention. I guess leaning into this, who's Doc Brown? Oh boy. Sometimes I make these references and I'm just so, my cultural windows. So there's a movie called Back to the Future, which you may have heard of. You just don't know anything about it. Normal. Of course, I was making an A-double-S out of you, me, Doc, Norm, Lillian, who I think is Norm's sister. But most importantly, you. So, it's a movie about time travel with this quirky doctor. That's who Doc Brown is. Actually, it's just DOC. So I don't know. Anybody listen to DOC and the Doctor? That's another reference. If not, check it out. That's on Spotify. But, so I was just saying, so Doc Brown would be like a deep, interested scientist. So one thing you could do, the idea of not paying attention would be, hey, tell me more about that flux capacitor that you used to power time travel. Well, I get cozy here. Go on and on about all the detail. Oh boy, can I tell you? I wanted to call it a flux capacitor, but it's actually a time flux capacitor. It's actually capacitors, but I combine them into one unit. So that would be where you stop listening, maybe. So that's kind of the thing with me. You don't need to, you can just barely pay me any attention. The other side of it is, even though this is a sleep podcast, it doesn't really put you to sleep. It just keeps you company. I'm going to be here for about an hour, so you could fall asleep whenever you want or just whenever it happens. But then if you can't sleep or you need me during the day, I'm here to the very end to keep you company. So either way, whether you're awake or asleep, I'm here. The good thing is I'm going to be here whether you're paying attention or not. So you don't really need to pay attention. It's optional. So those are 2 things. The next thing, what are the other things you need to know? I know there's other stuff. Structure of the show. Maybe I'll tell you that next just because I forgot what else. When you have the cast of Back to the Future 9 running around in your head and you wonder, where are they going to go? Like, what is the situation that they have to solve by going to a place where there's no norms? You say, well, they're going into your sleep podcast, Scoots. Tell me about the norms that are, one norm of active or, listening. We don't need to follow that here. 2 of paying attention during a story. Don't need to do that. Of listening. Structurally, your show's a little bit different. Yep, you're right. It starts off with a greeting. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and friends beyond the binary, so that people feel seen and they know they're welcome. Then there's, okay, so there's that part. Then there's the business. The business is what enables us to bring you the podcast twice a week. That's like 4 or 6 minutes or something. Actually, lately it's been less than that. But so that's what keeps the podcast going. Then there's an intro that's about 18 to 22 minutes or something. An intro that's 18 to 20 minutes, that doesn't sound normal, does it, Norm? No, it doesn't. Yeah, well, so the intro is like 18 to 20 minutes because it serves a couple of different purposes. One, it introduces the podcast to people that never heard it before and they get an idea of, oh boy, what is this thing? It's a bit different. And this person has something like a sense of humor. Almost, they actually do have a sense of humor. They're not humorous. I just realized that term. It's like Scoots is the only person, one of the few people that does have a sense of humor. You see, man, he's not hilarious. He kind of people say that they throw that word around like they know what it means. No offense, but you say, don't you think so? You you say, I guess it would be, I have more of a scent of humor. You say, it's like you just barely, like, when you barely smell banana sometimes, you say, or maple syrup, you say, okay. I have just a bare scent, or is that a scent of cinnamon in there? That's Scooter. He has a scent of humor. Or also you could say he has a CENT of, he has about a halfpenny he has a halfpenny of humor, but he has a bare sense of humor. I'd say you're right, but that doesn't fit. But that's because something come up with the intro. But for a regular listener, all my regular listeners out there, what up? Like the intro serves a purpose of giving you some distance from the day and helping you slowly wind down and drift off. And so that's kind of, yeah, I mean, it gives you some distance. Like some people start listening before they get in bed while they're winding down. Some people are in bed getting comfortable. So you're just going to have to see how it goes as you become a regular listener. But it becomes part of your wind down routine, whether you're awake or you're asleep or you fall asleep during it, or you become one of the 2% of people that skip ahead to about 22 minutes. So that's the structure. And then there's the intro. Then there's business. That's how podcasting structure works, is that business is kind of the most important business, but that's just how it has to go in the structure of the show. And then there's a story. Tonight we'll be looking back at a famous movie about famous Michael Keaton. I don't know if it was a Michael Keaton vehicle, but oh boy, is it our friend Beetlejuice, as they may have said in France. That great movie, Beetlejuice, or Juego de Beetle Bailey. Yep, oh boy, that movie. So we'll be talking about that and seeing what I can remember from that movie, even though I've seen it recently, like in the last 10 months. And yeah, it's a little break between our TV show coverage. And then at the end of the podcast is thank yous and good nights. So that's the structure of the show. The only other things you need to know is, one, I make this show because I've been there, tossing and turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep. So I want to help. So that's one part of it. And the other part of it is you deserve a good night's sleep. You deserve a place where you could rest and get comfortable. And our world will be a better place. If you're rested and you could flourish, or you just have a little bit better, it's, if your life's better, my life's better. It's really that simple. And if I could help you get the rest you need, that's even better, right? So that's why I make the show, because I've been there. I know how it feels, and you deserve more. And I think that's it. I mean, the rest you'll kind of get an idea of if you're new. I'm glad you're here. I work very hard. I yearn and I strive. I really appreciate you coming by. And these are a couple of ways I'm able to bring you this podcast twice a week. All right, everybody, it's time to talk about Grove Collaborative. And if this is your chance right now to get in the Sleepy Supporter Zone, but also to get your Grove order in while we still have this great deal with Grove. So I'm going to tell it to you right up front. And if you go to grove.co/sleep, you'll get a free cleaning gift set plus free shipping with your first order. And I've been a Grove customer since they supported the show earlier this year because they're amazing. And that's why I wanted to talk about at the top. It's like, okay, so I'm getting my next order ready. I'm definitely getting the Bubble Up soap dispenser for doing my dishes and cleaning my kitchen. I love the Grunge Buster tub handles. And of course, the Cedar and Sage bar soap. Do yourself a huge favor. Buy 2 or 3 of those. But Grove keeps my home clean. It keeps my home smelling good because Grove is an online marketplace that delivers natural home, beauty, and personal care products directly to your door. And we all know that going to the store is not something most of us are into right now. I prefer to have stuff delivered right to my home, know what I'm getting, know it's high quality, and, know what's in stock, know what I'm getting delivered so I don't have to make multiple trips to the store. Grove's got you covered with all of that. Like I said, Grove is the online marketplace that delivers healthy home, beauty, and personal care products directly to you. They take the guesswork out of going green. Every Grove.co product is guaranteed to be good for you, your family, your home, and the planet. With Grove, you don't have to shop at multiple stores or search endlessly online to get all the natural goods you need for you and your family. I love shopping at Grove. I mean, you hear me say it, and I really, really want you to sign up right now. I don't want you missing out on this chance for this cute, I don't use the word cute very often, but their cleaning gift set is super cute. They have a curated shopping experience that's really, really enjoyable. You could join over 2 million households who have trusted Grove Collaborative to make their homes happier, happier and healthier, and shipping is fast and free on your first order. So for a limited time, this is your chance right here. I'm telling you right now, when you go to grove.co/sleep, you'll get a free cleaning gift set plus free shipping on your first order. That's grove.co/sleep for that exclusive offer. grove.co/sleep. Get in there and then let me know what you ordered so I can put it on my next order. Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody. I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite seasonal movies. I guess it's not a seasonal movie. It's a classic. It's a movie I've talked about on the podcast before, but I've been thinking about it a lot lately. And because right now when I'm recording this, it's the last day of August. And it's a year that has me saying this. It feels like I've said this three times. I don't know. I was thinking about it because I was working on an episode of what's that called? Odder Things, the podcast I make. So tonight I'm going to talk about some things, my personal relationship with the movie Beetlejuice. And I'm going to go through some facts about it first because I actually own this movie. I own the streaming version or whatever, I don't know what service I had bought it on, but whenever I wanted to watch it a couple of years ago, there was no place to actually stream it. I think that may have changed, but I don't know. But I was thinking today when I was like, okay, I'll record this today. And I was like, I wonder if they have like an extended version or a Blu-ray. And then just in case anybody's listening, I know they've kind of gone back and forth on making a sequel to this movie. And I know there was a musical, I think it was just about to start or it just had started. We're talking about the movie, and I'll only say it once right now, Beetlejuice. But I'll try not to say it three times in a row fast, but really a classic film. Again, I may have talked about this before, so this could be the first to tell the tape where I have retail of the tape tread. But let's start with the actual facts from this one. I'll try to remember the plots. I'll still not remember it, even though I probably watch it every year. But a lot of surprises in this. It came out in 1988. Which was an important year in my life. It was produced by the Geffen Company, according to Wikipedia, distributed by Warner Brothers. Michael Keaton, Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis, Catherine O'Hara, Winona Ryder. What else we got here? Danny Elfman made the music. Oh, wow. Thomas Ackerman, not a relative of mine, but was a cinematographer. March 30th it came out. Okay, so that's interesting. March 30th, 1988. So I'm just trying to figure out, March 30th, 1988. So that meant I was either so I was in middle school, I guess. So Beetlejuice was a critical and a commercial. Wasn't it directed by Tim Burton, right? Of course, yeah. It's a swift 92 minutes, like a lot of 80s movies and early 90s movies are. It was a critical and commercial success. It grossed $93.7 million with a budget of $15 million. It won the Academy Award for Best Makeup, 3 Saturn Awards, Best Supporting Actress for Sylvia Sidney. Also had an animated television series that I'll have to try to, maybe I could watch that with my daughter. I wonder if that's streaming anywhere. I mean, even though it's the year, 2020, and I mean, 2020 might be like a Beetlejuice-alicious year, but what the heck is up with the streaming stuff lately? I mean, I've ended up, and I mean, so I've rented 2 movies in the last 3 or 4 movies I've watched. Oh, you want to know? Okay, so I'm trying to get my daughter a little bit introduced to some more movies. Well, the last movie I watched was Project Power on Netflix. And Jamie Foxx is really good in that movie. Then I watched, so that was, paid for by, I already paid for Netflix. So I watched that for free or whatever, $12.95. Then I watched Tootsie, which I think was on another streaming service. And also that was another one where my daughter had heard of it. And I said, okay, well, yeah, I guess you would watch Tootsie and then the Robin, Miss Doubtfire. Then we watched the movie, The Boys That Are Lost, and they can't find, they're looking for something that's lost. The boys that are lost and looking for stuff. Had to pay for that one. Then Stand By Me, I paid for that one. Rental. And that's a tough call sometimes, you say, but then you say, do you think you're going to watch it again and it won't be on a streaming service? Oh, and I think I had to pay for the movie. I talked about it, trying to figure out playing with the child playing with the child's doll. I think I paid for that one, so maybe I didn't pay for all three. Maybe one of them was on a streaming service because I only paid for two. I rented two movies. I know some of you are like, "Scoots, what are you like a grandfather? You're renting movies?" And I see, yeah, I pay for movies because this is how I make my living too, is making stuff that streams for free on the internet. So I know what it's like. Okay, so what does any of this have to do with, I have no idea what any of that had to do with it. Okay, but I was trying to figure out where I could watch it. I just went on a little tirade there. So where I could watch the series. And the stage musical is in 2018. So I guess no, it is, it has been around for a while. Maybe I'll you'll have to check that out. There's also some great guest appearances on this show. But let's run through a little bit more Wikipedia just for fun. So this was after Pee-wee's Big Adventure in 85 made Burton a bankable director. He was working on Batman, and Warner Brothers was willing to do the development. And Burton was reading scripts, and he had seen a couple other ones. And then he got a script for Beetlejuice. And Burton, let's see, they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out the casting. David Geffen said, what about Michael Keaton? Burton wasn't familiar with him. He cast Winona Ryder after seeing her in the movie Lucas. Then Catherine O'Hara signed on. And he said, they said the script is pretty weird, so it's pretty hard to get people. I think at the time, Alec Baldwin was kind of like an undiscovered person. So they had a $15 million budget. $1 million was for visual effects, which included the stop motion and the makeup and blue screens they used back then instead of green screens. But yeah, there's a lot more on Wikipedia. I don't want to take too much time like rehashing all the details. Because I gotta talk about what I can remember about the movie and my life. So I saw this movie in the theater. I feel like I've talked about this before, but and I want to remain some privacy and respectful of people falling asleep. But this was a time in my life that was not like my family was like all families do. They face different things, and sometimes you face a lot as a family. So the late 80s were like a time my family was trying to navigate together, and a lot of times me apart because I was a brooding teen, and I didn't do great in a lot of those situations. But also, at some point, my mom's younger brother had bought the house next door to us and moved in, and which was interesting just because. I guess they must have been a lot cool. I mean, they seem close now, but because I was a kid, I didn't really understand those kind of sibling relationships, Nowadays, I'd think, wow, that's like, I don't know, you'd say, wow, that's interesting. But we spent like a lot of time together, but not like we would eat dinner together and everything. So it was my uncle and I don't know if he moved in. I think he moved in there and then eventually got married, but maybe he was already married to my Aunt Karen. And so shout out to them. And, but so John and Karen, I don't know I don't know when they moved in next door to me. Well, let's see. Yeah, I have no idea, to be honest. I think this was around the same time. And so I don't know if they were married or dating at this particular moment, but, they took me to the movie, and which was very rare. So I don't know if they were like wondering what it would be like to have a kid, or just stuff was so like adults were interceding in our lives that cared about like family members were trying to help take care of our family. And I guess they probably drew the short. They said, what about this brooding, angsty teen boy we have? And they said, well, technically he's not a teen yet. And I said, oh, yeah, you're right. I wasn't a teen yet. But I acted like I had the old CHIP on my shoulder. That's when I started learning to furrow my brow and be above everything. I think maybe I wasn't quite there yet. But so they took me to the movie, just the three of us, I believe. And this was really, really meant a lot to me. I should send them a letter before this episode comes out because it really did mean a lot to me. And now as an adult, and I think back about everything that was going on, that means even more to me now as an adult. And it probably was like a part of a building of life-changing relationship with movies and a movie-going experience. Also, I think about the awkwardness, and a lot of people think I'm joking around when I say I wasn't a really trying to be like respectful bedtime too, but I wasn't and I guess say, okay, well, maybe this is just a narrative in my own mind, but I don't think I was a very GOOD. I know I wasn't the easiest kid to deal with, and so the idea of taking me to a movie was really like a gamble because you never know what kind of mood I was going to be in. I was usually polite to adults when I was alone with them. But I could be a handful and not just that. It just wasn't because you're like me, you can't sleep. You're not always in a good mood, I guess is a way you're not the light that fills. I've never been the light that fills a room. I was more a bit of the gloom, so all that said, I mean that in a positive way, that it's like, wow, this is really generous of them to take me to the movies. Also, it wasn't at a movie theater really close to my house because I think the movie theater that was really close to my house at this point had closed or was about to close thanks to BLOC, thanks to the malls and that movie store. Because the dual theater by my house growing up was gone. But that might not have had a movie like Beetlejuice. And it wasn't at the movie theater right around the corner from my house. So there was the movie theater right by my house. Then there was a movie theater at the next closest one was at a mall, of course. But that was a little ways away. But we ended up going to a mall that was in another part of town entirely, and I have no idea where. A couple other questions come up is did we eat dinner together? Which I'd say probably we did, unless we went after dinner. They picked me up at my house, which is also a possibility. So what I was thinking is so if you take a kid to a movie that's not your kid. There's especially a kid like me that dreams has over unrealistic expectations, and I'm willing to push the envelope to get stuff. It's how do you negotiate the snacks in the snack bar? Do you go no snacks? Do you go one bucket of popcorn to be shared? And then what is the drink situation? Because even back then, stand-up comedians would be joking about the prices of stuff in movies. I'm sure it was nothing compared to now, but it was probably the same price. So if a movie was $2 or $2.50, I bet you a thing of popcorn was $1.50 or $2, which is, people probably be like, that's too much. But so we went to this movie and the movie was amazing. And I remember just sitting with them and it was sharing the movie, and they were probably in their 20s or their 30s. I would guess their 20s. And we really had a good time. But I just remember, once again, going to see a movie in the theater that was very different. And maybe it was because I liked Pee-wee. Maybe that was it. I don't know why we decided on that movie. But we did, and we went, and oh boy, was it good. So I guess I just say that for that, it has a special place in my heart. Now, how does this movie start and all of that? That's a good question. And I think the last time I tried to remember, or maybe even I did an episode about this, I was wrong. And then I've probably watched it a couple times, once a year. I usually see it now. But it feels like it's been a year, maybe longer. But so I'm pretty sure the movie starts off. So, what are the characters' names? I don't know the characters' names, or like Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis's characters are married, right? And they live in their dream house in what I believe is like somewhere like far out from New York City. So not an exurb, but like where you say, well, I want to be close enough to New York to go there without it taking, without having to stop overnight. But I don't want to be close enough that it's an I don't even think they had exurbs, but like a suburb. So back then you'd say you were moving to the country. And then, like, there was the idea of like people from the city coming and taking over, like, oh, this is so nice, until everybody from the city moved in and the prices went up and all of that, and it became shishi or whatever. So, but they had moved there, and I don't know if they, like, I don't know their backstory, which goes into, like, my ideas for the sequel. Actually, I don't know if their backstory is super important, but, so they lived up there. I'm pretty sure Alec Baldwin's character ran the hardware store. And this was a dream house. They were always working on their dream house. I'm trying to think of anything else I need to know. I think that's it. And so they had this perfect life, right? And they would wave at the people from the town, and oh boy, was it a dream come true. So the movie starts off with that, the ordinary world, or whatever you call it. But quickly they have to drive into the city or drive into town for something. So I don't know if they have to go to the hardware store because they're working on a project, or he's going to the hardware store because, oh boy, I got to check and make sure we have this in stock or whatever. And I think it was like a Sunday, and it was like even more of a day of leisure where they're like, well, do you really have to go into town? That's another term when you move to the country. And I guess these are like, I don't know, like what the term is, but like we say, well, I'm moving to the country. Oh, I'm going into town. But so they said, oh, we're going to go into town. And then I don't exactly know what happens, but so on the way back, I'm sure on the way into town, they go to the big farm. And that's what's so cool about this movie is it offers a insight into a version of the big farm. And this was a time, I don't remember the oh God, are you there, George Burns movies at all. I know I saw those, and I'm pretty sure I'm familiar with the idea of those movies. And then there was Defending Your Life. I don't know what year that came out, but I'm pretty sure that might have been a little bit after this, but maybe not. Maybe this is in the same range of these very nuanced, fun, enlightened takes on what happens in that when your earthly life, you cease to be a human being, you become like a next stage, like a next stage existence. And I highly recommend seeing Defending Your Life too. But so what happens? So they don't, the thing is, the first gimmick, I guess, or not gimmick, but I guess in a positive way, I'm not saying it like it's a negative, is that they don't realize that they've gone to the big farm. So things pick up like almost like a record skip, and they're back at their dream house. And maybe we don't even know, but maybe we do. Maybe we see that they have a little fender bender or something. So I can't remember any of that. They have become post Earth humans, but they're on Earth. And I guess I don't remember all of the mythology involved, but at first they don't realize it, right? And they say, but they know something's off. Slowly they keep noticing that something's off. Then they see their friend who's a real estate agent outside. She's a little down. They're trying to talk to her. She's not answering. And I think the first time they realize that something strange is going on is they try to go outside. And this is one of the stop motion things. And it's a bit like outside of their house is like the movie Dune or the book Dune or the soon to be miniseries or TV show Dune. but even a more surreal version where there's sand buddies out there, and it's like total, like, and it's a portal, so it's like really hard to get back. So you really can't leave your home. So that's like the first rule of their post-life existence is like you can't leave home. Then there's two other ideas that get introduced early on that are important. One is like one level of antagonism, which is that at some point this family moves into their house. And again, this was like their dream house. You know, they like they rubbed all the wood and they say, oh boy, this is all the wood in this home was hand rubbed by us. All of the, we polished all the sockets. Scooch, what do you mean polish the sockets? I said with a toothbrush or something, they say, oh boy, this is a leaded glass. We hand leaded this glass and all that. So it's really their dream home. They really invested their hopes and their dreams and their work into it. So the idea of someone else coming and living there and planning on changing the house drastically would be hard for them to accept. But then on top of that, it's like a very over-the-top New York City family, I would say. I think that's what it's supposed to be. So it's like a banker, an artist, and their daughter, brooding daughter, played by Winona Ryder. And then Catherine O'Hara plays the wife, who's kind of like this art, like very comedic, but she plays it in a straight, which is a character she was made to play. And then the husband's just kind of like a banker type, like, put upon kind of a type character. So, but none of them are, so they say, oh, we don't like these people. So that's conflict number one. Then conflict number two is like the other thing that's introduced is like the rules of this new world and just some fun mythology and world building. So it's like, okay, so we're no longer human beings. Correct. Here's this, like, I think they find this book. And it's like, hey, this is welcome to your, your second existence. Here's some of the rules you got to follow. And, don't break any of these rules, basically. Also, at some point, they find an ad for Beetlejuice. And there starts to be a little clues about this Beetlejuice character. Then they realize, okay, we got to get some help here. Who do we get help with on our next stage of existence? So they go through this magic door using this chalk. You draw a door. I think you say something. And they realize that there's a lot of visual comedy. There's so much. This part of the movie is like small but so strong. Is that whatever they meet their caseworker, and that the afterlife, like the mechanisms of the afterlife, is very, very bureaucratic. So bureaucratic. And I think it would be fun to watch with Defending Your Life, which is more of a utopian bureaucracy. Like when you say bureaucracy is a positive word versus this is like very bureaucratic. You got to wait. Everything's like run down. Everybody's put upon. And so then they finally meet their caseworker. This is probably a series of scenes spread out over like 20 minutes, but she's like hilarious. But she says, "What do you need?" Like, and there's just so much fun stuff packed in there. But they like slowly discover that they say, wait a second, like, oh, well, we got to get rid of these people that are living in our house. And she says, well, here's the rules you need to follow. Did you even read the handbook? Read the handbook, follow those rules. And then at some point, Beetlejuice comes up and then she says, whatever you do, don't contact him. He's like trouble. So they try to follow, and part of it is like they haven't fully embraced the fact, like they haven't fully embraced this stage of existence. So that's one of the things that causes them all these troubles is like they basically say, well, you got to accept this stage of existence. That's why you're not flourishing. And there's some level of acceptance and whatever you call that, like where you give in. And I don't know. This is just that world's. So we also learn a little bit about Winona Ryder's character, the daughter, and that she realizes that her parents are not worse than not great, and that she kind of doesn't quite fit in with them. She's not happy. Maybe it's just her stepmom and her dad too, but that she's like, she's only brooding because she says, "What are these people are materialistic and ego-based and selfish, and I want something more." So she's always kind of wandering around and exploring. And then, so then they try to pretend they're Caspers, like, and get rid of the family. That does not work. And it also gets Winona Ryder's attention because she's very courageous and curious. She's mostly just curious and interested. So after a couple of failed attempts, she says, wait a second, like at first, like they can't even be seen because I don't think they believe, like I said, they're not fully leaning in. But then it kind of works, and all they end up doing is getting Winona Ryder's attention, and she wants to talk to them. And things keep getting worse at the house where they're like, okay, we're going to get rid of all the glass they worked on. You know what? Take all that rubbed wood and paint over it in neon colors and stuff like that. And they say, no, I can't believe this. So they say, oh boy, are we desperate? But then they realize that Winona Ryder's character can be trusted. She's caring. She understands. She's curious. But she also says, well, you're dealing with my parents. Like, it's not going to, like, work. And they say, well, we have to make it work. And she says, well, you don't know them. And they say, well, we're going to get rid of them. And all they end up doing is getting more attention. So at some point, like, they, I wonder if when they use, they think they still do one more try. They say, okay, well, we're going to try one more time to get rid of this family. Now, meanwhile, again, Beetlejuice, who's played by Michael Keaton and is an over-the-top character, is constantly getting these little ads or saying, hey, don't you need my help? And it's very, very strong, high comedy. Because Beetlejuice is like the reverse of Ghostbuster. Like he's a non-Ghostbuster. He's he's actually like a Ghostbuster. He's a Ghostbuster, kind of. So let's see. So they're friends with Winona Ryder. They're trying to get rid of the parents by being Caspers. It fails. We get to see more and more of the not nice sides of the parents and their friends. And then I think this is pre-Beetlejuice. They do this thing where they say, this is it. This is how we're going to get them out of the house. Yeah, this is what happens. Like they have a couple guests over. And, of course, one of the guests just happens to be really interested. He's like big into this kind of stuff. Like, so they do this thing where they try to, they've been trying to learn all these moves. And they, so they like say, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to, to help the humans by playing, and for some reason they decide, and I don't know why this is, but it ends up being cool, is, they decide to use Harry Belafonte's song, which is an incredibly pain-filled song if you learn more about it. And I don't know if they knew that in this movie or not. I don't think they did, but maybe we learned about it years later. But the Deo, the banana boat song, and then Jump in the Line. I always think it's Rock Your Body on Time. I used to sing that song. I used to sing Jump in the Line. I would change the lyrics, not that it has anything to do with anything, but when my daughter was little and I would change her diaper, I would sing Jump in the Line, Rock Your Body on Time. Oh no, not when she was before when a kid when she would make that diaper face, like filling her diaper face. And then I'd say, okay, I am ooping, like it just works. Jump in the line, Rock Your Body on Time. Okay. So, so those two songs they use, and they take the, parents and their guests and a bunch of the stuff in the house, and they use that to like make this great, where they actually, take control of everybody and make them dance and sing to the songs, and thinking for some reason that it would like, get rid of them. And they actually, that's like another level of comedy. Because I guess like they're, the main characters, or I don't know if they are the main characters really have to analyze this movie, but Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin's characters are very kind, good people, but they're also kind of boring. So I guess that's another powerful thing because it's very rare. And I think it was done on purpose. It's like, wow, those two are very milquetoast, I think would probably be the right word. They're very saccharine. And they, but I mean, they're in a place for it. And I guess it's a good contrast with Beetlejuice. But so that ends up not working, that everybody at dinner is like, wow, that was the coolest thing ever. We just got forced to move around and dance and sing. How did you do that? And they say, oh yeah, we got these two, beings that live here. So then they end up like saying, okay, now we can make them perform for us and stuff. And we could look into this. And then they go back to their caseworker who says, wait a second, they know about you? Oh boy, this is not good. Also, if you get caught by a Ghostbuster, it's not like in the movies. So like, think about it. Did you see any of the ghosts, like other than Slimer? Saying, wow, that was cool. Again, like, do you think ghosts want to be busted? She says, really? She goes, would you trust if you were a ghost, would you trust a person that said, I ain't afraid of no ghost? And they say, oh no. And she says, that's right. Oh no. So then they get to the point where they enlist Beetlejuice's help, and they say his name 3 times. And we realize that Beetlejuice is beyond a problematic, over the top, like crude, but also confident and very effective. And Beetlejuice presents it as, okay, yeah, I'm rough around the edges, but my job is, I can get these humans out of your house. If you want, if you need me to move these humans out, that's what I do best. And don't you worry. And I wonder at what point, I think I remember watching this and being like, wow, Beetlejuice really doesn't come in until like, if it's a 90-minute movie, it might be like 60 minutes or 45 minutes in. Because thinking about the progress, I can't think of that many sequences with as a character, other than the building up of it. But I also can't think of many scenes with Beetlejuice in it because I guess what basically happens is he says, okay, well, don't worry. Then there's another big dinner scene where they have, for some reason, Dick Cavett and Robert Goulet over for dinner. And I think like Dick Cavett is like one of their book agents, maybe I don't know. And I don't know who Robert Goulet plays. Maybe he just plays Robert Goulet. But so those were really famous people back in the like 80s. Just for people to say who, and I say, yeah, Robert Goulet is even probably if you said, Scoos, who's Robert Goulet? I'd say he's got a really good voice, and he was in Beetlejuice, and I think on a bunch of other stuff that I don't know. Dick Cavett also has a really good voice. Both of them are distinct voices. I'd say Dick Cavett probably has creaky, dulcet tones. And Dick Cavett was a famous interviewer. So, I don't, that's just like, and I'm not kidding. I think Robert Goulet was a singer, kind of like a lounge singer actor is who I'm picturing, but I'm not, I guess, so Robert Goulet fans, Robert Goulet, I'm sorry. Like, cause I think that was like the 70s into the 80s that those two were at the peak, their height of their fame. So where was I coming back? So they're over for dinner. I wonder if there's two sequences, or maybe I'm getting them mixed up. I mean, that's what happens in these tale of the tapes. But basically, Beetlejuice says, "Don't worry. All you got to do is recruit me, and I'll take care of everything. These humans will be gone." But it is very much like Beetlejuice's fingers are crossed. Oh, what is the cost of your services? And Beetlejuice, of course, doesn't give all the information, which I think is like, I can't remember. I think Beetlejuice needs to like, well, there ends up being a heavy cost. And the whole time Winona Ryder is like, I think Beetlejuice wants to like get out of like Beetlejuice's situation, which for some reason, marrying a living human also somehow like will establish Beetlejuice back in the middle world or something. But it will also like take the post-human life forces from Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis, because like their home, like he would become the resident of their home, maybe. I don't know exactly the rules, but basically Beetlejuice takes over, like humbles Winona Ryder's parents. The guests leave because they say, "Whoa, this is not what we," because they say, "Oh, we're pitching this new business. It's called like, a bed and breakfast with Caspers. And you're going to be totally interested for sure, because the last time was so amusing." But Beetlejuice is not amusing. Beetlejuice is, gets to the point of making the humans, getting what Beetlejuice wants and getting rid of the humans. Oh, also, to mention, for some reason, Beetlejuice lives inside in a miniature. That's what like made me think of this movie when I was doing odder things. And I was like, oh, this could be for Halloween 2020. So I don't know what that has to do with anything other than it just made me think of like, oh wait, Beetlejuice like lived in like a train set. I don't know. I think there was a train there. Maybe that was one of Alec Baldwin's, maybe that's where he was driving, was to go to the model train store. Can you believe that we used to have like model stores and trains, like train stores? Like those used to be, I don't know, times have, anyway. So, basically the movie hits its apex with like, I don't know if you have to get Beetlejuice to say his own name. I can't remember what you have to do to get rid of him. But I think you have to get him to say his name 3 times or something. So Winona Ryder, he's basically like, I'm going to marry Winona Ryder, and then I'll be able to live in this house and be human or whatever, like not be in a train set. So I'll have to pay attention to this the next time I watch the movie, because I know this isn't accurate. But so basically, as he's getting ready, as soon as he marries Winona Ryder, for some reason, that will make him established in the house, and that Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis will be not residents of this world anymore. They'll be de-existed. And so I don't know how it resolves. I'm pretty sure Winona Ryder's the one that has to fix everything, though it may have been a combination of Winona Ryder's dad, Alec Baldwin, and Gina Davis. But I can remember them kind of being kind of stuck. Or maybe they just have to say his names. So I don't know. But I'm pretty sure Winona Ryder's character tricks Beetlejuice, which causes Beetlejuice to have to leave the world again. And he ends up going and having to go to the waiting room in like a post-earthly world. And then there's more comedy at the end of the movie there, where he gets his due while he's waiting. And then Winona Ryder, her dad, and Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis have like established some sort of working rapport. And Catherine O'Hara's moved back to the big city or whatever. And so they have like some sort of working rapport, and they even do more Harry Belafonte at the end of the movie, which Winona Ryder does, like kind of over the top, to add, like, there's the comedy with Beetlejuice and then this punch with Winona Ryder to close out the movie. So that was a movie from what I remember about it. And then so then I wonder, like, I guess you say, Scooch, what would you want to see in a Beetlejuice sequel? And I'd say, well, there's two decisions to be made, in my opinion. And maybe you have to do this as one movie with flashbacks, but I would like to see Beetlejuice's origin story or how Beetlejuice, up until, like, so I would like to see the prequel. But then you'd lose. But I would think if you were going to do this movie, you would try to get the original cast or as much of the original cast as possible, or run screen tests and see if Michael Keaton is game to be Beetlejuice again. I mean, I think that's the most important question. And now I'm remembering doing the Thanksgiving Day parade a couple of years ago and seeing the Beetlejuice. Maybe it was even this year. The character who played Beetlejuice was good. But, I mean, I guess Michael Keaton is my Beetlejuice. It's also not Beetlejuice. It's like, I don't know if it's a misspelling, because it's Geist, I think. Maybe I'm the one that's wrong. I probably am. But so I would be interested in any sequel to see the events leading up to, like, how Beetlejuice ended up where Beetlejuice was at the start of the movie. Of course, that's a question. Maybe it's answered in the musical or the cartoon. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that the animated TV show is Beetlejuice and Winona Ryder's characters, but I'm not positive. But I can kind of picture that in my head. But I would also be, I think the better movie would be, is something like moving forward. And I guess if you say, well, okay, these are the ages of the characters now. It takes place it could definitely take place in the year 2020. I mean, right? But like, I think like some multi-layered thing, like where maybe there's a movie where Winona Ryder's character has gone to the big farm and is in the house. Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis's characters have moved on to another stage of existence after the one they were currently in, because Winona Ryder's will replace them. Also, that gives you the ability to cast some more people as residents of the current house, though I don't think most of the movie would take place in our world. So then the way it would be is like, let's say, going down or on some sort of curve, there's different stages of existence, right? There's the human world that we live in now. That's the baseline, we'll say. Then not that far below it is whatever world Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis were in, that then Winona Ryder's character's in, living in your house, but you're not a human anymore. There's some positives like familiarity. And then there's the fact you got to live with other people and you're not a human anymore. So you have those things going. So then there's another stage of existence after that. Maybe it's not down, but it's like another thing. Like, I don't know what it would be. That would be open and cool to explore. But then there's wherever Beetlejuice is. That is definitely not, it could be one of those famous circles, you got Dante, you got whoever that other person was that was famous, all those people down there, Milton, the whole 9 yards. I mean, their stories, right? So Beetlejuice is somewhere there. Now, if I know Beetlejuice, what Beetlejuice would figure out is like somehow use that opportunity. Maybe there's some other event that Beetlejuice figures out, or he made some other secret thing that when Winona Ryder moves in her world, he ends up switching worlds. So, or there's two kind of quests, but I think there should be like where we get Winona Ryder thinks she has to go get and rescue Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis. So she's either going all the way to where Beetlejuice is now or to another world. Now, meanwhile, Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis, I think that's it. He tricks them out so he's able to get out. So he tricks Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis into going down because he makes them think that Winona Ryder character needs to be rescued, and she goes looking for them, and he's able to run rampant. But then, of course, in that movie, like, it would be, then Beetlejuice would have to do something positive. I think, I don't know. I think those are just like sketches of, and I mean, maybe that's what changes his mind, is that so he gets back to the house, but then it feels empty to him. Yeah. And he's also thinking about the choices that led him to have to live in a train set. Maybe he even realizes, wow, I had it pretty good in the train set. And now that I'm living in this, like, sooner or later, this is all going to catch up with me. I'd just like to live in the train set again. So, and maybe we see some stuff, whatever, from not Beetlejuice's childhood, but whatever his other forms of existence were. Then you get the prequel, because, I mean, the odds are you're not going to make 2 more Beetlejuice movies. So you get both those in one. I don't know. That's just what I was thinking about this week when I was thinking about the movies, what I would want to see. But, I mean, there's so many moving parts that what I want to see really not that big a deal. But anyway, so that's a couple things about Beetlejuice and the tale of the tape behind Beetlejuice. And shout out to my Aunt John and Karen, and with much love for supporting me in a time that was not easy. Thanks and good night. I want to thank everybody who became a patron recently. Louisa, Ryan, and Paul. Thanks and good night. Shannon, Kristen, and Jeffrey. Thank you. Thanks again. Good night. Ren, Kasra, and Russ. Thank you. Thanks and good night. Brett, Peter, and Ashley. Thank you. Thanks again. Good night. Catherine, Dan, and Lisa. Thank you. Thanks good night. Nicholas, Junk, and Lisa Michelle. Thank you. Thanks good night. Lucianne, Robert, and Michelle. Thank you. Thanks good night. Nina, Sherry, and Erica. Thank you. Thanks good night. Phoebe, Emma, and Nicole. Thank you. Thanks good night. Aaron, Cody, and Sarah. Thank you. Thanks good night. Natalie, Jackie, and Colin. Thank you. Thanks good night. Leah, Matthew, and Kate. Thanks good night. Joe, Hayden, and Charlie. Thank you. Thanks good night. Dan, Joanna, and Michelle. Thanks good night. JDW, Candace, and Amy. Thank you. Thanks good night. Sarah, Tiffany, and Zoe. Thank you. Thanks good night. And Amy, Lauren, and Laura. Thank you. Thanks good night. Thanks and good night, everybody, for supporting the show. Sleep With Me exists as a free podcast because people support the sponsors and support the show on Patreon. And what else? We would grow as a podcast by people just spreading the word, like in person or online, even just about podcasts in general. It helps Sleep With Me. You don't even have to mention our show unless it comes up. And it's really a huge help to show people how to do it on their phone and, when you're with them, or, on Zoom, kind of say, hey, here's what the app looks like. And here's some podcasts you could check out. What are you into? So thanks so much for that. And here might be something you might want to know about. Good night.